Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Ibiyinka Alao, and I'm the ambassador for the arts for the United Nations. I'm also friends to Kevin, who is one of the developers for this space here, this maker space, and the Seed House. It's been a joy getting to see what artists are doing for artists in order to be creative. So it's a joy to be here, and Kevin, it's wonderful to be here in your space and talking to you about what you are doing. It's really wonderful. So I'd just like to start off by asking you first and foremost, so this space, what was it that propelled you to develop it with your friends or other colleagues? What did you see about the town of Tamaqua in particular that helped to, inspire the creation of the space?
I just want to say it's such a joy to have you here in this maker space and being able to collaborate with you, and I'm glad we got to spend some time together. And this has been a long process in the making, and with kind of the key word being space is something that we all are looking for as artists, as community people, just places to gather, places to share ideas. I think there's so many interesting things happening right now in multiple communities across the world with shared economies, shared tool share type of things, collaborative spaces, people working together, whether it's, ride sharing or bike sharing. People are starting to kind of let go of a lot of material things and trying to just work together and come up with things to where everybody can utilize space or materials together, and it makes things a lot easier and smaller impacts. And with this town, it's I first got my introduction at a wonderful arts garden community that's right in the south of Tamaqua called Stonehenge Gardens. And I started living over there and working on the grounds, and we started just starting to meet the different people within the community and started seeing a lot of opportunities for spaces to gather, spaces to share, and things like that. So we started having arts events and community type of organization type of stuff over there. And then, it was just a slow process again of learning who, which I hope can be templates that we all can use, and there's other models happening in other towns where to get involved with the local town council people and learn who different people are, and just try to help out where you can as a creative person, and those are long processes of getting to know everybody, especially in towns that are just kind of blossoming in the creative arts, and getting to know what the possibilities with bringing arts into their community and stuff like that, because surprisingly that still is a new thing in a lot of areas that are still trying to get over a lot of conflict, a lot of depression in different areas, which is happening in a lot of small towns where industry has left, and towns just trying to almost reinvent themselves and move forward with what they have available and being able to utilize their resources.
True, and I've seen that in some of my travels, maker spaces. I must say I've not actually ever seen one that is so artist oriented. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I've seen maker spaces that maybe they are all creative people, but it might be making some kind of tools, some, even for business to have some administration, going on and all. So it's really heartwarming to see one that is, by artists for artists. Now I know that you may have some other people who are not necessarily the regular kind of artist, right? Is it? Do you?
Yeah, and that's what, what we welcome, and having different things like we've collected everything from robotics to electronics to computers, and lots of vocational skill type of stuff, because even a lot of us that have gone to do schooling, like say you're an electrical engineer, and like in a lot of these areas, it's hard to find work doing different things. But still, again, to be able to have to do your day job, but still to be able to come to a place where you can further that passion, whether it's electronics. Like that. That's one of the exciting things about having these collaborative spaces, I think, when you're able to see different things that you might not have been able to experience, you know, whether it's you're building something, but out of the corner of your eye you see a 3D printer going on, or a laser etcher happening, and you know, it opens up your creative, you know, mind to so many different potentials and equipment that you wouldn't necessarily be able to have all yourself in your house because it's just too expensive and you don't have access to that. But like a library or any of these things where everybody brings a little piece of the puzzle to kind of make the whole, and again, just having space to be able to do stuff properly. I mean, me personally, I had tools in my basement packed away that I just couldn't use because I didn't have proper space for them, space for the materials to actually work with them. So, and in a lot of these places, these towns and communities, that's one thing that they do have is space and open spaces and buildings and storefronts that they're, you know, working to try to figure out how can we utilize these spaces.
And I want to ask you about that very shortly, because I know that that's a key to realize that there are spaces and to bring it together, bring the idea that maybe this space can be used for better purposes. But I want to go back a little bit. So correct me if I'm wrong, when this started as an offshoot of a place called the Seed House.
Yeah.
Okay, and the Seed House, you begun that. What was the motive?
Yeah, the beginning of that, actually, kind of the seed for the Seed House was planted over at Stonehenge Gardens, and it was the group of an arts kind of collective that had formed that was working together, trying to further develop arts educational programming over at Stonehenge. And we were traveling around doing weekend gatherings, music and art festival type of things, and other workshops, welcoming in artists, doing shows. We had our first location, an actual kind of home base, right around the corner from here. Again, finding it was an old historical hotel in town that was built in 1827, like a really beautiful old home that we turned into an artist in residence working space where artists could come in and help us out at the gardens, and you know, as a work exchange program. And you know, we were starting to have different functions over there, art gatherings. That's where we first had you over, and you presented your, where we had the projector and children and people, and we did a workshop where all the kids painted vases and painted did a bunch of things. So it was a lot of workshops, bringing community, building together kind of creative community. And
I did, I have to say, I did talk a lot about this back at my work in New York, and there were a lot of people, even from within the United Nations, that they were just fascinated by the idea that a place so close to New York and that offers an event that is, maybe a smaller scale, but different from what they regularly see, and that we were already talking about making a trip to one of your events.
Yeah.
And but it's really, I think that's what's wonderful. And I know you don't like talking about what you have done a lot, but for me, I saw this happen, and I saw so much work you put into the Seed House, and now this. So because I remember when you started talking about it. But the beautiful thing to me is that you put action into your word, that it wasn't just that you talked about doing this. You see, many people will say, oh, we want to have this space, we want to do this, we want to build that and all. But art or life is not about talking about something, it's actually going out to do it. You can talk about loving people, but loving people will not do anything to the people. You actually have to go out and love the people. So that's what I love about the fact that this has come to fruition. Can you talk a little bit about how long how long ago did you begin to utilize the space as what it is? And then also back to what we were talking about. We were talking about the storefront, using empty buildings or spaces that might otherwise not be seen as anything by the city. How difficult or easy was it for you to work with your town here in order to secure the space? Did they make it, did the government in the town make it any easy? Did they try to frustrate it for you? And then what advice will you give to other people? Because I'm sure there are many people that will be thinking how,
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, we've had this location now for about 3 months, so it's definitely very relatively new. And as I said before, and we were talking about some of the events that we were doing at the Seed House, having creative gatherings, and at the same time, we were also having gatherings that brought some of the nonprofits within the community that weren't necessarily at all arts-based, but we were using our the Seed House concept and creative community to bring in organizations within the town to just network and start conversations about stuff. So we were within the town, like a few of the different nonprofits, a few of the different businesses, local businesses, the local judge, the local, township supervisor, the chief of police. We were just starting to get to know these people and not be afraid of these people, and invite them all into a room for a meal, and that's what I would encourage, like anybody trying to get involved in, whether it's at your a YMCA or a Salvation Army or a location or your local restaurant. Just if you want to be involved, it's just taking small steps at a time to reach out and bring people together, because it can be frustrating, but it's like once you break the ice and kind of like go for it and kind of bring the veil down to let these people know, especially coming in most of the time as almost an outsider, like I didn't grow up here in town, and these towns are very close-knit communities, and everybody knows one another, and everybody knows who the madman artist is from out of town that's trying to do all these things, like we were saying before. But so it's about just putting yourself out there, which gets easier and easier. But I would suggest just trying to break the ice with different groups and go to community mixers or chamber of commerce areas and just introduce yourself. And it was we were able to use Stonehenge Gardens originally as a buffer to be inviting people down, and started meeting a couple people, and then it was about coming into the actual community and starting to just meet these different organizations and learning who did what. But then, like I said, having a group of everybody so they could all learn who did what, because they don't even know a lot of times, because people are just so busy doing so many amazing things that they don't have time to just have a meal together and share the amazing things they're doing, because that's where this person learns from that person, like, oh, you're doing this, well, I'm trying to do this, and let's work together now, and they go off and work together. So a lot of relationships can form from just having little mixers and being creative and bringing groups and organizations that are outside of the art world, but a way to engage and kind of see what's going on, and it can be done in any location and place. Like I was saying, at your local restaurant, banquet hall, just talk to them, because there are budgets and town things where they can have a dinner or a catered meal or something like that, or just coffee and tea, just to have a chamber breakfast that they do in different business gatherings month to month. So
Thank you. You heard it. You heard it from the horse's mouth. So anyone out there that is trying to create a maker space, this is what you do. Try to network with the community. Try to know who is doing what. Talk to them. Don't just think that you are getting frustrated because people should see you and come to help you. Well, but sometimes people don't see you. You have to actually invite them to come and see what you're trying to do. So I don't know how much time we have, but I will stop here. The next time we are going to talk about the people, the artists that are actually here right now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.